With me here in the studio now is Douglas Herbert, our international affairs commentator, who's also looking into this story today. And Doug, look, this is the second time in just 9 weeks that a gunman has got within shooting range of Donald Trump. Is it a failure by the Secret Service? Could tighter security have stopped this from happening, do you think?
Look, there's no such thing as absolute airtight security when you're protecting whether it's a president or anyone else. Now, the Secret Service is sort of damned if they do and they're damned if they don't here. You could argue on the one hand that a very eagle-eyed agent did spot this rifle barrel jutting out of the bushes in the tree line of this golf course. In fact, he spotted that, did prevent a possible assassination of a presidential candidate. But by the same token, this is the same Secret Service that signally failed to prevent, another assassin's bullet from grazing Donald Trump's ear back in July. And the images from that attempt, you'll remember, have become almost part of the iconography. They're now iconic images of that. The bloodied ear, the bloodied face, the raised fist pumping, the chants of fight, fight, fight. They've become almost, literally rocket fuel in his campaign on the trail. Now, there's a sense here at the Secret Service following that July attempt on Donald Trump's life. They bolstered his protective detail. What does that mean? They added additional agents. They also stepped up the sort of real-time intelligence on the ground wherever Donald Trump is. But it's important to remember, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff pointed this out. He's the one who gave a press conference yesterday, basically saying he doesn't have no one has the same protective detail as the president. The president, if he had been golfing on that course, Joe Biden, the entire course would have been surrounded, encircled by Secret Service agents. The questions now that the Congress is focusing on, it's the investigation that was launched in the wake of the July attempt, is how many resources does the Secret Service need? Do they have what they need? How do you give them what they need? How do you better train? They had taken steps to bolster Trump's security detail. Some are even arguing Trump should have just as many agents protecting him as Joe Biden, the president. And there are people for or against that. But the fact of the matter is he has a different protective detail than Joe Biden has. But we also see that the Secret Service, in a sense, is going to come under criticism regardless, because this was, once again, how did the guy get that close within 400, 500 yards of Donald Trump?
And look, Kamala Harris on X saying that violence has no place in America. There is, though, an argument, isn't there, Doug, that America has a long history of violence, including political violence. Do you think it's getting worse?
It's not necessarily what I think. It's you have a lot of longtime American political commentators, observers, people who've covered the American political scene for decades, who essentially are saying that violence is a staple of American life, society, and its political culture. And if you look at American history, it's a long rap list of assassinations, of riots, of pogroms, of lynchings. The list goes on and on. When you ask whether or not it's getting worse, what we do know is that access to guns remains extremely easy in America. The proliferation of guns, the background checks are still not tight enough in many states, and you still have open carry in many states. People can not just get the guns, but can just carry them visible to all on the streets. You have a situation right now with a polarization. I know it's an overused word. It's become cliched, but I'm going to use it again. The polarization, literally meaning the sharp divisions, both across ideological and political divides, are stoking more of what I've already said, is this subculture, if you will, this almost reflex, this violent reflex in America that, sure, you see it everywhere. Sure, we have tragedies of these kinds and shootings here in Europe. You seem to see them more frequently, and they are with sometimes greater intensity and vendetta-driven in the United States. So if you ask me if it's getting worse right now, there are a lot of people that say between the easy access to the guns and the worsening polarization, these are accidents waiting to happen. Plus, you have a candidate such as a Donald Trump, who many accuse of inciting the very violence that is now haunting him. It's like a boomerang coming back to hit him in the face. So it's a very volatile cocktail. Are there easy answers in this political climate? No. But I'll tell you one thing. The Secret Service or anyone trying to prevent these things have their work cut out. These are unpredictable, and they're happening with greater violence and greater frequency.
Just a final question for you, Doug. We know the polls say this is an extremely close race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Do you think this is going to have an impact?
Put it this way. Donald Trump, as I have already said, has essentially, forgive the bad pun, has weaponized the last assassination attempt on him. With those iconographic images of the bloodied ear and face and all of that. He's turned them into campaign fuel, in a sense. And what we're seeing after this second apparent attempt on his life, we're seeing Republicans not just rally around Trump, but we also see the finger pointing and the blame game beginning, where they're essentially blaming. Some are out openly insinuating that this is staged. You look at social media, that the Democrats are to blame, that this is a setup. They're all out to get Trump. And Trump himself, at a campaign fundraiser, blasted out the statement that, there are people in this world who will do whatever it takes to stop us. So it's them against us. It's that theme of division again, stoking, rallying his base, using this as a rallying cudgel, if you will. And right now, you have Republicans basically saying that the Democrats are essentially to blame. Not all, some are saying this. The Democrats are essentially to blame for endangering Trump's life. How? By blaming him for being a threat to democracy. You might say that's convoluted reasoning, but that's what's going out there. And a lot of people out there are inclined to be receptive to that type of message, that somehow this is a Democratic plot to not just bring down the Republican Party, but to bring down Donald Trump.
Douglas Herbert, thank you very much.